Kosovo has recently been subjected to another terrorist attack, this time on a canal in the north of the country. It was targeted with an explosion, which cut off the water supply for drinking water, but also to two crucial power plants. As you can imagine, the fallout from this situation has been quite vast. I decided to speak to Thomas Hacker. He's an MP from the FDP party in Germany. I came across him on Twitter, where he'd been speaking quite vocally about the situation and who is behind it. I decided to catch up with him on Skype, and this is what we talked about. Mr. Hacker, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, I came across some of your tweets, can we call them tweets anymore? Your X's on X, because we can't say tweets on Twitter anymore, regarding the recent terrorist attack in Zubin Potok. Now, I also see this in the context of ongoing issues with Serbia, but also, you know, we've had suspected Russian attacks and sabotages on cables and pipelines and things like this in other areas of Europe. And I'm wondering if, from your perspective, you know, I mean, Kosovo points the finger at Serbia. Serbia has pointed the finger back and said that Kosovo has basically done this. I'm wondering, in your view, who is behind this? Who do you think has a hand to play in this situation?
Actually, we've seen this for many, many months, that there are attacks in Kosovo, in the northern part of Kosovo, and we always see that Serbia is saying, oh, we have nothing to do with it, we will investigate, and then no investigation is shown. The Banska attack in Radojcic, no one has been made guilty or found guilty or who was undergoing this. And therefore, we do not believe any longer in the will of the Serbian president and of the Serbian government to fulfill these promises of a complete investigation. We need transparency, we need investigation, we need to know who is in charge of this. And when you look at the attacks on critical infrastructure, we've seen this in Germany as well. We have the cable to the Scandinavian countries only some days ago, and we see it again and again. And it's the style Russia attacks the Ukraine as well, to destroy the infrastructure, to make seem that a region is vulnerable. And therefore, we, as a European community, have to do anything against this, to prove that we are secure, that the people can live secure in Europe.
Well, it really concerns me because, okay, this is the second very large attack that we've seen, large, sort of very serious terrorist attack, if you will, in just over a year and a half. You mentioned Banska, but there's also been, I mean, I think it was Thursday, on the evening of an Albanian public holiday, there was a grenade attack on a municipality in the north. There is a constant stream of small sort of scuffles and incidents happening in the north of Kosovo. And what I'm concerned about is, you know, there's been impunity, as you mentioned. There's been no sort of real action. There's been no convictions. There's been no real investigation even. And I'm worried that this breeds an environment where escalation is more likely to happen, where the perpetrators feel emboldened to maybe take more steps. And I'm wondering if you fear escalation in the north and between the two countries.
Actually, the dialogue between Pristina and Belgrade has been on a long way, and we have progress and we have regress and we have good developments, and then those agreements are not fulfilled. And now we are in a situation with the European Commission that after the Parliament has been re-elected, the Commission started its work only on last Sunday. And we do not any longer have Miroslav Lajčák as the person who is in charge. And I think this is a good development, that maybe we will very soon have a new person in charge. Kaja Kallas had talked to both Alexander Vučić and to the Kosovarian Prime Minister Albin Kurti as well. And this shows that in this very short periods of being in charge in the European Commission, how they strengthen, how the European Union strengthens the situation between Kosovo and Serbia. And we know that in Kosovo there are elections early next year, and we also know that some tensions may be caused for interior reason, for interior political reason. And as soon as we have these elections passed, as soon as we have the new people in charge, I think we will have a new, not only a chance, but a really new development and a good development between the relations. The Western Balkan process, the Berlin process, had a real success last October, only some weeks ago, when the CEFTA agreement could be deblocked and we could go ahead on mutual trade relations between the Western Balkan states. And we have a visa liberalization from Kosovo to the Bosnia-Herzegovina people, and these are good signs. So we should not only look at the developments that are not so easily going onwards or somehow are going backwards, but we also have to see the good things. There are good things, there are bad things. I hope that very soon the good things will be on a far higher scale than those incidents, those attacks, as we've seen from time to time. These attacks must stop, to make this clear.
I mean, there was the Banska attack. Kosovo said that they've presented the European Commission with a final report with all the evidence and everything, which leads back to Belgrade, essentially. The person who masterminded it has admitted it. They remain at large in Serbia. Serbia won't extradite them. I asked the European Commission as well. I said, have you had the final report? Are you going to take action? Because there was talk in European Parliament that there may be sanctions against Serbia because of this attack in Banska. And then the European Commission told me, no, we haven't received a final report. So I had the government saying they had, the European Commission saying they hadn't. And it makes me wonder, and I wonder if this is linked to what you said about Miroslav Lajčák, if there was some element of appeasement towards Serbia in this process, because, Kosovo then had sanctions or measures put against it. And I'm just wondering if you see any imbalance in the way that Kosovo and Serbia have been treated in this ongoing situation in the context of attacks, but also the dialogue process.
Actually, those who know me know that I'm asked for a really long time to lift the sanction on Kosovo because they are out of time. And we have to look very closely on who is following agreements and who is not following agreements. And if we look at Serbia, we've seen the election fraud last December. We know all about this. We have seen the catastrophe of Novi Sad only some weeks ago, with people just being killed because rules are not kept to, because there's no construction license for this train station, and because there are unclear financing of this, and it was presented to the public more than once on to show that Alexander Vučić is doing very fine, and suddenly the roof collapsed, and all these. And we've seen, of course, the violence afterwards, and those young people, students who demonstrated, those demonstrators who were kept in prison, and all this is nothing to prove that the European Union can have confidence in Serbia and the Belgrade government. Therefore, we see this situation. We can only try to give help. We can ask to improve the rule of law, the situation, and that there are no more funds by the European Union if these things are not fulfilled. These are the measures that the European Union can take, but a government must work on its own. So the Serbian government does what it does, and Alexander Vučić promises to go to Russia, to Moscow on the 9th of May next year. This does not make any progress on the relations between the European Union and Serbia. Therefore, we should lift the sanction against Kosovo. We should look very closely how the investigations are held, and we should give money only under conditions that rule of law is held that rule of law is proceeded against everyone, not only against the students demonstrating in Novi Sad against the fraud that had been shown, but also of those who are in charge of giving there's no official permission for the restructuring of the station, but who start this reconstruction and who are in charge and who should be found guilty. So rule of law must work against everyone, against violent demonstrators, but also, of course, against government members that are in charge.
And thank you for speaking up on all of these issues. Sorry, my cat's decided to join the conversation in the background. He feels very strongly as well. I wanted to ask you one more point as well. The Association of Serb Municipalities. This was agreed on under the EU facilitated dialogue in 2013, I think it was. It hasn't been implemented. It was then made a condition, sort of informally, indirectly in a way, of Kosovo joining the Council of Europe. And this was sort of brought in at the final stage, and it now appears that Kosovo is not going to be able to take that final step. Now, I was in Kosovo last weekend. I was filming a documentary on war crimes that are still unsolved. And what I heard from people is that they not only have war crimes not been, has there not been justice for the vast majority of them, but Serbia denies that many of these ever took place and continues to accept Kosovo's independence. And from speaking to normal people, politics aside, they fear, like daily, that by giving Serbs this autonomy, potentially some executive powers, they fear a repeat of history. And this is what normal people think. And what I see is that perhaps the international community, which is calling for this association, is not understanding the nuance of why perhaps the government is really standing against this in Kosovo. This is my view as a journalist who went and interviewed people in Kosovo about the general situation. And I'm wondering, what do you think about the establishment of this association? It was agreed on many, many years ago. But when it comes to implementation and also its introduction as a condition for joining the Council of Europe?
Actually, I thought it was a mistake to make this connection of the municipality of Serbs in establishing the thing. We have seen elections in the north where nobody took part. Then mayors were elected, then they should be, due to the constitution, removed by asking the people again, and again nobody attended to remove them or to make a way for new election. And if you see from the Serbs in the northern part of Kosovo, if you see how they act and who orders them to act, it's shown that there's no will of cooperation. On the other side, if you talk to the people and if you talk to the mayors, all go to the town halls or ask for papers, and the quarrel about the license plates and all these things could be solved and it could be done. So again, we have a situation where sometimes we have some progress and sometimes we have retreat. We go back to the past. But you're right, if there is no acknowledgement of the war crimes, of the crimes done against each other, if there's no common sense on how you should treat those war criminals, if some are released from prison and are celebrated as heroes in some area, this is a sign that the region did not learn from its own past. In Germany, we came from a history which brought horrible things all across Europe. even in other parts of the world. And after World War II, we were not in the situation of ask for anything, but help was given to us by the United States, by the European neighbor country. We were re-invited into the European family of nations. We were helped to have economic growth. But we made a process as well of reconciliation, of bringing the parts in our own society together. This was not easy, and this took quite a long time. 20 years are not enough for this, but you have to start from one point. If France and Germany, arch enemies for centuries, did not have the great power of two major politicians, Charles de Gaulle and Konrad Adenauer, who stood above the graves of two world wars and gave them, shaked hands and said, we want to start a new life, living together, be friends, get to know each other, be friends. And if this process cannot start, you will never have peace in the region. So this should be first on topic, but of course as well, political cooperation. Serbia must accept that Kosovo is a single nation, is an own country. And from this point on, we can discuss on further integration in the European Union. In my opinion, the Council of Europe would have been a great success and would have been a great chance for Kosovo to be accepted among all the European nations. And I hope that we can find this or make this decision very soon. But this connection simply was a mistake, in my opinion.
That was a really powerful analogy you made, actually, comparing with France and Germany. I'd never thought of that sort of context before. But thank you for your comments, and also for saying what you say publicly as well, because I often get the feeling that a lot of people who comment on this situation and say, you have to do this, Kosovo, you have to do that, wouldn't even know where Kosovo is on a map. I've never been there. You know, they don't understand much about the context of what's gone on there. So your voice is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much.